Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And as we sit, slightly hopeful, slightly tensed, slightly stressed out, and slightly, just trying to be positive, waiting for the India induced flood to pass by us. Yeah, I mean the reason why we're blaming India here is because as you know we're already flooded. India's already flooded, and then India decides, oh, you know what, our dams cannot contain all this water anymore. Like, kudos to the Indian stupidity is what I'm going to say, because these past few years India was making such a hue and cry about making all these dams, and Pakistan was making a hue and cry too, saying that, oh, all these places where they're making these dams, these are going to cause Pakistan water loss. And then they moved on, with more hue and cry, saying that, that India wants to conserve all this water and this and that. But India was saying that, no, actually, we also need to make sure that we don't get flooded and that we need more and more dam networks and this and that. Okay. So what, did you make your dams in the wrong places? Why are your dams not enough now to contain all this water? I thought you spent all these years making all these dams in all these strategically placed locations, hoping to not get flooded, basically, as to not to have that chaos repeat. And then now your dams cannot hold that water, and so you're asking Pakistan, oh, we have to open the floodgates, oh, you have to let the water through. Seriously? And you flood our already flooded three rivers, Yeah, I thought there were two that were going to be, distributed amongst, but no, it's all three. Okay, so all three floodgates opened for all three rivers, and there we are, like now. And one thing, I was reading this because my major problem here is that we have the largest irrigation system in the world, which means we have the largest canal networking system in the world. Now, one of the basic things that canals do is redirect and contain floods. Like, it's common sense though, but okay. That is one of the things that canals do. Now, considering that we have the largest canal network, why are we being flooded? Question number one. Well, we know that there has been a lot of code violations and a lot of infrastructural violations in urban planning and housing schemes and everything by the government and the army themselves, which has resulted in, for example, the riverbeds being encroached upon and houses being built on them. Obviously, so when the water came, it came in its original bed, the riverbed, and it destroyed homes and killed people. Got that part? Okay. But I was reading this article, I think it was from Vox, and I don't know why, but they said, oh, the British built canals in Pakistan and caused and created water scarcity. Number one, the British did not build the canal system. I know we tend to give credit to the British and we say, oh, and the British also like to take credit, but it's actually wrong. The canal system was originally, believe it or not, in its current state, even by the Indus Valley civilization. Okay, so it's an ancient network that already existed in the subcontinent, in the place which is now Pakistan. And the British, they just advanced upon it. Okay, that is, they developed it more, as in they worked on it a little more. But the actual network itself existed already, so it's not created or built by the British. Okay, they just developed it. And one of the major things that Imran Khan was doing, because this is something that I was even asking my friend, because I was getting a bit confused, that, I mean, isn't it supposed to be something that maybe the current government and the army want to play heroes at? So wouldn't they want to control the whole flood situation before it actually reaches the urban areas? And my friend was of the opinion that they're basically acting like pharaohs. They're probably thinking that, oh, just kill everybody, kill all the especially the poor people, because they're the first people who go, isn't it? They're the first people who suffer the most. And then then comes the middle class, and then comes but I was thinking that actually this time it's the the higher middle class and the rich people who are also going through this suffering, because this flooding which is coming into the urban areas means that the
the elite societies and the posh societies are getting caught in the trap too. And then but I guess she has a point too, because I guess if you talk to anybody and everybody, they are all of the opinion, as am I, that it's a bit suspicious the way they're handling this whole thing, because they knew. You can't say they didn't know. They knew that it was going to happen. What were they doing all this time? Not taking measures before time to stop the flood from actually reaching urban areas. That is one of the questions that people would be asking, obviously. And then, again, you go back to Imran Khan, because Imran Khan was actually putting in place projects. He was actually putting in place projects to help curb future flooding, you see. And the first thing they did when they came was put a stop to all of it. One of the first things that they did was put a stop to all his projects. You know, the water project, the flood management project, as in rain storage, and strategically placed uh, containments, you know, to avoid flooding. And I mean, they they are basically unraveling whatever little it was that he began. One of the first things that they did was empty the treasure, and then, in fact, the real reason why they're after him, the real reason why they just plunged him into all these cases, was because then they ran after the money, the dam money. You see, that's another problem, is that every time people talk about making dams and about such projects, then suddenly, people with political agenda, they just come and they say, oh, we're stakeholders, you didn't ask us, you should have asked us. We will have water scarcity, we'll have water shortage, we'll have this, we'll have that. Actually, how tell me how. Right now, tell me, are you flooding? Are you happy now flooding? I mean, seriously, you were the ones who constantly were, you know creating obstacles between an actual, dam making. I mean, people get displaced when dams are being made. That's understood. But you know what? During Imran Khan's government, you would expect that they would compensate you properly. But with this government, they wouldn't even compensate you in the first place. So wasn't that a better time for everybody to? And actually, it was. People did. His time was probably the only time when everybody agreed that yes, we should make a dam. But again, he was ousted before he could even do that. Now, if we had those dams in place, we wouldn't be facing the issues that we're facing today. So that is also contributing towards a deliberate corrupt act, by the current government and the army. So obviously they're going to be blamed for having corrupt intentions. I mean, look at the fact that they tried to stop Imran Khan from getting elected so many times, because every single time he contested in the elections, he actually won. Believe it or not, he actually won. But they kept on rigging the elections, and then they didn't allow him to get his rightful place, except for the last time when we just overwhelmed the whole system.
They couldn't stop him. And as you can see, the second time round too, even though he was in jail, he won the elections again. Okay, first of all, as you know, I always blame the previous generation for screwing things up for us. Thank you very much. They are the major aiders and abettors of a corrupt system, because they never did anything to stop it. Okay, yeah, okay, fine. They thought they joined Bhutto and they thought that they would bring in nationalism and they would fix things up. That was part of that generation's, whatever they like to call it, their contribution towards trying to make the country a better place. But that didn't do much, right? We have had four dictatorships and we've got a fifth one vying for his own, hoping that he too should land a chance at dictatorship. But first of all, this government, as I told you, even when before they came, remember I said, now expect terrorism, expect crime, expect chaos, expect anything and everything under the sun that can cause chaos, because that is what they want, so that they can pretend to achieve control and then prove to you that, look, we are really good at what we do. But I don't know if it's unfortunate for them or if they just didn't care anymore. But as we can see, since they have come, they have not managed to do jack shit. They've not managed to control anything, not even their own created chaos. Point in question right now that we have here, the current flood situation. You'd think that because they already knew, don't tell me that, oh, this time we had record breaking rainfall that we've never had. Certain cities have had this amount of rainfall which exceeds the total amount of rainfall they ever had in the last 40 years. Yeah, don't give me that, okay? Because again, we all know that every year we have monsoon. Last year was the only dry monsoon that we had, which should have given us enough common sense to understand, to have the foresight that, oh my God, there's so much humidity, there's so much humidity. The heat, the rising temperatures are causing the clouds to hold on to so much moisture, which normally they would shed in the form of rain. And all this moisture, if now it suddenly sheds, we are going to have a hell lot of rainfall whenever it happens, right? And so this year, you should have expected all that rainfall. And we got it, right? India's flooding, we're flooding, Bangladesh is probably having its own problems. But the point is, right now, many countries are actually flooding at the moment due to all this excessive rainfall. Again, these were supposed to be expected. Okay, all of it was supposed to be expected. You're telling me that you've been here for 2 years, and in all these 2 years, all you did was yap about Imran Khan, play golf, go abroad and try to, make countries give you money or give you, political assistance in the form of acceptance and support and whatever. That's all you people did. You did not even try to prove yourselves to us, because actually we all knew that you weren't even here to manage Pakistan. You were here to basically finish the mission, the decades old mission that the Brits left with the Americans. And that was to make sure that Pakistan never becomes a sovereign state. And because at one point it has to come back to us, it has to be recolonized, and it has to be sold to us piece by piece and bit by bit. And that is exactly why they are here. Your army, your government is right now basically doing their bidding, because they are here to make sure that this is the last of it. This is the end of it. That's why India is also acting the way it is. That's why everybody's acting the way they are, because according to them, this is it. This is the time when we finish Pakistan. But a variable has occurred. A variable of a stupid, incompetent, unmerited, unqualified army chief who suddenly thinks, oh, why can't I be the fifth dictator? And now he wants some time. Now basically what he wants is that, oh, let's just stall the process again. Give me 10 years. In 10 years, let me gobble up whatever it is I can for myself too. And I'll also give you a share. And then later on you can take Pakistan. So here's that new variable here in place. And that is the whole ongoing hot debate within, okay? That is their debate. To remove him because he's becoming a dangerous variable, or to give him some time because, anything can happen. We may need to stall a bit, stay on the safe side. God knows whatever it is that these insane wackos are playing at, but there you are. But the point is, because of that, they deliberately allowed this wreckage, this disaster, this flood situation is what I'm saying. They allowed it. Again, I would say 2 years. 2 years, when they had ample time. You wanted to prove yourself? Which again, as I said, this proves my point that they didn't come here to prove themselves. They came here to finish everything up. They came here to wrap everything up. That's why they halted all the projects. The billion tree project that Imran Khan had started, which was crucial, to fight against global change, global warming, climate change. And it was crucial to rejuvenate our green environment. It was also crucial for water levels and for flood obstruction, And then at the same time, he was creating all these units to collect rain, again, to obstruct flooding, All these steps that he was taking, that he was putting into place, they halted them immediately, not even one by one. The first thing that they did was halt all projects. They even halted the Gwadar project. They were making so much noise about how Imran Khan was ruining the Gwadar project. So as soon as they came, why did they stop it? Why did they halt it? Because America told them to. Now America is setting its sights on our gold, and America is setting its sights on our rare earth minerals, and America is now setting its sights on Balochistan, and so that's what the army is doing. It's, again, remember, it's doing its mission of giving Pakistan up back to them. So we're slaves, we're still slaves, we'll remain slaves is basically it. And as I keep on saying, our people deserve it all because they have aided and abetted in all of this to reach to this point. Although I will also say, to their credit, that the people of Pakistan, especially our generation and the generation, even our parents' generation finally woke up, but it's mainly our generation. We worked hard. We actually, all of us, united for the first time in history behind one man, and that was Imran Khan. We were on the streets. The world did not like to record that, no, because at the same time, Hong Kong was doing the exact same thing, albeit they started a day or two later than us, but our timings coincided, and the world decided to focus on Hong Kong because that was to the Western interests. You see, Hong Kong coming out in the streets was to their interest because they're anti-China, the West, not Hong Kong. And so here, Pakistan going out in the streets was working against Western interests, so they were trying to hide it, but in the social media, it boomed. And the world found out that Pakistan was actually literally on the streets, just like Hong Kong, and that we were both going through the same thing at the same time. And we both managed to succeed to a point where we got our leaders that we wanted in place. And then comes America. And America decides to topple Imran Khan. Why? Because he's a danger to their interests. He's a danger to the American interest. Why? Because he wants Pakistan to become a full-fledged sovereign state, a neutral state that has relationships with everybody else but alliances with no one. That is their biggest problem, because Pakistan is, unfortunate for us, right smack in the middle of your geopolitics of Asia. We're the padlock here. You want access to Asia, you need Pakistan. Unfortunately for us, okay, we're stuck here in this BS, okay, and we have no way out, and we're trapped. And so when Imran Khan gets arrested, again, the whole country comes together. And Imran Khan, again, I would keep on and on saying, he made the fatal mistake of stopping the people. He broke their momentum, and he gave the army and the government the leverage. He thought he was taking away that leverage from them by stopping us, but no, he actually gave them that leverage to create that false flag incident, which they used against us. And mind you, it's not just PTI workers that were arrested, normal people who filmed what was going on, they were arrested. And they are amongst those who are right now imprisoned illegally, and they are illegally charged. They're illegally trialed. Yes, I would call the whole process illegal, because even our judges are not legal. They're not qualified, and they're not even supposed to be there, because the whole the whole judiciary is hijacked. And so you have these completely useless trials, these pretend trials, these farce of a trial, in which they have now put all of them for 10 years. They've punished them all for 10 years confinement in jail. And they are your innocent regular citizens. They're not just PTI workers, as I said. They are your regular citizens, okay? And they're in jail. Why? Because they witnessed what was going on and they decided to record it. And some of them actually recorded it just so that they could send it to their superiors, and tell them, can we please close shop? Because it's getting pretty violent here. People are getting very aggressive here. People are rebelling. And I don't think this business is safe to be open right now. Nobody's going to come anyway. So this is a video of what's going on. Should we close shop? Just for that, they get arrested. By the army, no less. Amazing, the atrocities that have been committed in this country by these people. We've talked about them a million times, although nobody gives a frack, as we can see. And so, as I was just chatting with one of my friends, and she was like, they're basically they're just proving that, this is truly the jungle's law, and we're gods now, we're pharaohs now, and, who can say or do anything to us, and we're going to kill everybody here and, control the population and, exert authority. And she's right, but at the same time, I do feel that something here is going a bit wrong for them, because first of all, God's curse. Since these cursed animals came into governance, since this army chief has come, God has been cursing us left, right, and center. He's been bringing us earthquakes. He's been bringing us floods. He's been everything that has been known in the Bible and in the Quran to have been brought down on people to just terminate them, to eradicate them, is being brought down on us, okay? I think the only thing that's left is a plague. Otherwise, we've had it all, okay? And right now, God is again just throwing his wrath, on both India and Pakistan for obvious reasons. Like it or not, God is at play here. Like it or not, you can bring all your science in, you can bring all your logic in, you can bring all your environmental factors in, you can bring corruption in, you can bring everything in, but at the end of the day, it is God who's doing what he's doing. And here we are, sat on our haunches, looking every which way, but where we need to. The army and the government have once again proved that they do not care, because they're not here to fix anything or to even rule. They're here to wrap things up. And what better way than to allow natural disaster, but in fact to increase that, to increase the damage of that natural. Because as I said, we have the largest canal network in the world. And you're telling me that these floods cannot be directed directly into the canals? The canals are literally sitting half empty right now. So it's not like they're overfilled. They're literally half empty, which would mean that they have either prepped. They knew that, because they knew obviously that India would have to open the floodgates. They knew that our own flood was also coming in. So I'm sure that they, in fact, prepped the canals by emptying them, so that when extra water comes, when flood comes in, it will be contained within the canals. And I'm sure that was the idea. So why is the flood not being contained in the canals, is what I really want to know. I am serious about this, because I, for the life of me, cannot understand what's going on. Because what I understand is that the water from the rivers will go into the canals, and from the canals they will go into the sea, which is what is supposed to happen. So why is the water seeping out into lands, into residential areas? And these residential areas are around the canal. That is what I'm not getting, okay? So you see where I'm coming from? These areas that are getting flooded, they are literally areas that are on the right or the left side of the canal. So why is the water going everywhere else but in the canal? I would think that, okay, I get it. Again, everybody's making this big excuse that we have got the highest recorded amount of water, of rainfall, plus India has already left, it's opened its floodgates, which has increased it by thousands of cubic. Okay, fine, that's all fine. You've evacuated the people when you got the alarm or the notification, but still, these people are getting sick and tired of being evacuated. Every year you evacuate them on flood alerts, and every year they get dislocated and they lose. These are poor people, okay? These are not ultra rich. And why is it that it's always the poor people that have to suffer? That's another thing none of us understand, Why is it that, again, it's corruption? And I'll tell you why. For example, if they know that the best way to divert the incoming water would be through that part of the land that has minimum damage, and that part of the land is owned by a feudal lord, for example, or somebody who's in politics, or somebody who's rich enough to buy your whole family, and you then decide that, oh, okay, his property, his money is more important, so let's divert the water the other way, which is where the poorer people live, who can really do nothing to harm us. So let's cause them damage instead. Let's cause them loss instead. And it's not like your government is, or your army is going to compensate these people for the losses incurred. No. It's not like they're going to rebuild their homes. No. And all they're going to do is they're going to exploit this whole situation, use this situation. In fact, that is what my friends was also saying. In fact, not just my friend, in fact, if you look at the majority of the Pakistanis online, even, that is what everybody's saying, is that, oh yeah, they are going to maximize this disaster to their advantage, because then they're going to use that to manipulate the world into giving them aid and charity and funds and shelter and equipment and this and that, and they're going to pocket the money and sell everything else for double, triple the price. None of it is going to go to the affected areas or the affected people. Why? Because we've seen it happen every single year, except when Imran Khan was prime minister. That was the only time when we actually saw him putting the money where it needed to go. And he was basically taking it from us, from Pakistanis, from overseas Pakistanis, and he was trying to minimize the intake of, debts from the IMF and from everybody else. And that was the time when people actually wanted to even help him. Even the other governments abroad wanted to help him when things happened but look at his management. Look at the way he managed the COVID. Look at the way he managed the natural disasters that could have happened. Look at the way he managed India's aggression. Look at the way he managed everything beautifully and confidently. He was setting precedents that the Western world was following. This billion tree, project was literally, it's now being followed by Western countries. They have literally taken it from him, and they have accepted it. They have acknowledged the fact that yes, they were influenced by his announcement and his project, and it is because of him that they decided to do their projects. So just look at that. This man was setting precedent. He was putting us back on the map in all the right ways. And that is why America had a problem. That is why Britain had a problem. They were like, what? No. That is why they were now in a panic mode, and they decided, no, it's time. It's time we wrap things up. It's time we wrap Pakistan up. Come on. Let's send the dogs and the bitches, Hey, voila. The dogs and the bitches are here, wrapping things up very beautifully, killing people off, flooding areas that could easily, again, why is the water not going into the canals? At least the bulk of it should go. Then you would understand if a little bit of flooding would occur, but you will understand that. Now, here's two reasons, as I said. Either things have really gone beyond their control and they don't care, or they are obviously creating this chaos and creating this false alarm, which they will make real to an extent, and they will allow enough damage to incur to suit them, to suit their ulterior motives, to suit their purposes, right? So right now, they have allowed flooding to occur to areas very near us, because remember, as I said, Ravi is actually nearest us. So the areas that were near Beas and Sutlej, they have already been affected heavily. According to them, they evacuated almost more than 1 million people, altogether in the past 48 hours from potentially flood-ridden areas. And so many people, as I said, even refused to go, which is something that the BBC would tell you as the reporters follow them on ground. And they talked to those people who refused to go. And those people said the same thing that I just said, that they were sick and tired of being relocated every single time there was a flood alert, every year. And, again, you see, every year, every time monsoons occur. So it's not even about us having the largest amount of rainfall in history after a long time. No, as I said, one should have been prepared for it, because that every year we tend to have, it's a rainy season. That means, what the hell have you been doing for decades? Not managing the situation, not creating storages and units and dams and reservoirs. Every time there was a dam to be announced, people would gather and say, oh, we're stakeholders. If the dam is made, we won't. Okay, fine, die in the flood now. Are you happy now? People of Sindh, people of, other areas, are you happy now? I mean, what's wrong with you people? You get, it's all political again. The people who are basically rising are not even the common people, because the common people don't even know what's going on. No, it's the political parties and their people. They come and they pretend to be the people, and then they say, oh, we're stakeholders, we're the people, our lands are here, we'll get affected, we will have water scarcity. Again, canals do not create water scarcity, contrary to whatever article it is that Vox or Vox wrote, which I just can't even wrap my head around. No, these are so many other factors that come up and create water scarcity. If anything, you can use your canal network to help maintain groundwater level. If you used your brains, you can do that. There are so many ways where you can, in fact, use your canal system and your irrigation system to also maintain your ground water level. You know, you can. Don't even try to tell me you can't. Seriously, don't. I hate it when people come and try to say, oh, this. And then at the end, I give them a simple solution. And I'm like, isn't it like this? And then they just look at me with their mouths open. Yeah, don't do that. Okay, this is again common sense. Just like how it's common sense that canal networks are supposed to help with controlling and minimizing flood damages. That is how they can and just like how they're used for irrigation purposes, it's common sense that you can also use it to maintain water level in the ground. Okay, there are so many ways you can work around that. No. It is all about corruption and mismanagement. Imran Khan had put money aside to make the dam. This government, from the day it came, they have been trying to steal that money. All these cases, all these weird ass cases that they've been putting on Imran Khan, and their ultimate gain is they had already stolen from the treasury, which he filled up. They left the treasury empty, in minus. He came, he painstakingly filled that treasury up to a point. They, within 48 hours, the first thing again that Shehbaz Sharif did, within 48 hours, he emptied the treasury. And then they started piling cases upon cases of Imran Khan because they wanted that money, that flood money that the Supreme Court has in its account. Oh, sorry, that dam money. Yeah, it was for the dam, for building of the dam, right? So, you know what? You need to stop whenever we are trying to make solutions, that will these are long-term solutions for controlling flood situation, for helping with irrigation, for helping with agriculture. People need to stop coming and crying blue murder when they don't even know jack shit. I mean, people with political agendas, they need to just shut up right there. We need dams, like it or not. I understand that there's a lot of displacement that goes on and there's this and that. If you're not a corrupt government and if you compensate people the right way, it can be done. It was done. It was done with Mangla Dam. It was done with Terbela Dam. It was done. It can be done again. Okay? And don't be like India and choose political points and political locations for your dams. At the end of the day, India's dams also amounted to nothing. Right, their dams are overwhelmed, and I quote, by the whole rain that coming from Kashmir and everything, that they don't even know now what to do, and so they opened their floodgates and flooded Pakistan. Amazing. And here you were talking about acting like God and saying, oh, we'll make these dams and we're taking care of all the water and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. I mean, seriously. And we thought that our government was the pits. Now, what's wrong with you people? Seriously, we need to stop this. Okay, so right now, even as they're making their emergency, and that was like about 9 hours, now it's obviously more than like 11 hours ago, when the water had already reached residential areas, then the army decided, oh, we'll make emergency embankment so that the water doesn't flood more areas. Really? So that means you wanted the water to flood these areas. You wanted the water to flood these residential areas all the way near Toker. And these areas literally are on the left and the right side of a canal system. And yet they got flooded. You see what I'm trying? I mean, can anybody please explain this logic to me? That the areas that are surrounding the whole canal network are the areas that got flooded, and then they decided to make an emergency embankment to stop further flooding. Like, what the hell were you doing these past few days? No, seriously. More to the point, what the hell were you doing these past 2 years? Again, which was my very first question. What the hell were you doing these past 2 years that you couldn't even think about at least making a few reservoirs, just temporary reservoirs, knowing that it's going to rain bloody hell this year? Again, only a fool wouldn't know that it would rain like this year, considering that last year it didn't rain when it was supposed to. All that moisture, all that humidity in the air. What did you think was going to happen? And now you're saying, oh no, actually it's the first time that all three systems converged, and we're facing the effects of all three systems, the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and, I mean, seriously? Again, you people in the weather forecast, you never saw it coming? Are you trying to tell us that you are sitting on your haunches and you're so unqualified and incompetent you didn't see it coming? Of course you saw it coming. Most probably, you even told the concerned people, like the Disaster Management Authority in Lahore or in Punjab, the PDMA or the National Disaster Management Authority, the NDMA. You must have told the Sindh Disaster Management Authority. You must have told them all. And then everybody decided to just sit back. And because this is the Pakistani way, which I hate the most, by the way, this is the Pakistani way. Oh, we'll see when it happens. Yeah, we'll see when you die. Okay? When you die, we'll see what happens. It does amount to the fact that they are deliberately causing damage, thinking that they can manipulate this to their advantage. Again, by stealing money in the form of aid and pocketing all that, getting equipment, shelters, whatever it is that is needed, to give relief. They'll sell all that, and then they'll pretend to finally control this whole chaos and say, oh look, the army has done it. Yeah, seriously, you couldn't even freaking fix the whole problem in the northern areas. You didn't even, what were you doing? You were playing golf? Did you go all the way to the bay to play golf? Is that was going on, that you couldn't even come and at least knowing that the northern areas were going to be affected a lot this time, because we already have the melting glacier stuff going on. Okay, our glaciers are melting. That, as if wasn't enough, that landslides occur when it rains heavily. It's true that the government had actually already made homes in different parts of, like, for example, in Gilgit Baltistan, the government had already made homes for residents in a safer area, knowing that if it ever floods, they have a place to go to. And those people, they go there sometimes, but they still prefer to stay in their own homes. But at least they know that they have a place that their government has provided them with in case of floods and all. So okay, that's fine, that is appreciated. But then what have you done, knowing that there are obviously lots and lots of water resources in the northern areas in the form of streams, again, melting glaciers, streams, valleys, you get the gist. So what have you done to ensure that during landslides, or that during all these problems, fine, you've given them homes that that they should go to those places to stay safe, but what else have you done? What concrete projects have you managed over there to ensure that there is no loss of life, there's no real damage? The only thing you people are left with is causing alarm throughout the country, and then by the time the flood is literally about to reach, that's when your whole evacuation process begins. And you think that is supposed to be something that can be a positive boost for you people, right? You're like, oh yeah, this is not, you're not shooting a film here, this is real life. Nobody's going to call you a hero by saying, oh, the army and the rescue people came and within 48 hours they just evacuated everybody. Now that's amazing. No, it's not. You know what's amazing? Never letting this scenario reoccur. That's what's amazing. That's what would make us call you people a hero, is when you actually take concrete measures to ensure that such a thing never happens again. Instead, you actually took measures to make sure that this thing happens and that more damage occurs than the previous time it happened. That is what we are seeing. Okay? What we are seeing here is that you are deliberately creating measures to cause more damage than would otherwise have been caused. if you were even slightly vigilantly doing your job. So don't give us that crap. And once again, explain to me why the areas around the canal are being flooded. Don't give me your 1,000 cubics and your 2,000 cubics. No, 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 no. Explain to me this. Because now this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.